Hello everybody, Savat the Mighty here, and I'm back with another Eve Echoes video. So I'm back on the Fulmination test server, and we're doing more ship requests, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Mimitar Typhoon. Alright, so if you do like my content, please leave a like on the video, subscribe, and ring that notification bell if you want to be notified whenever I do release new content. That out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. So the Mimitar Typhoon is a Tier 9 battleship. This ship itself is going to get bonuses from large missiles / torpedo operation, and it's going to get minus 5% large missile / torpedo activation time per level, and plus 5% large missile torpedo explosion velocity per level. For its battleship command bonus, it's going to get plus 5% scan resolution per level. Its basic information, its overall defense is going to have 70,877, flight velocity of 146, warp speed of 3 AUs, power grid output of 6,968 megawatts, capacitor is going to sit at 7,680 gigajoules, with a cargo hold capacity of 1,250. This ship is mainly a shield tank, and its shield resistances are sitting at 10% EM, 20% thermal, 40% kinetic, and 50% explosive. So what did we decide to do with this ship? We're actually going to go through a couple of different fits here because this ship can be fit a multitude of different ways. The first thing that I wanted to try on here is taking into consideration what it gets its bonuses on. I wanted to see if large torpedoes would actually be something that would be effective on this ship. So I did do a combat test with the large torpedoes. And one thing I can say before we even get started, it does have power issues. So those power issues might be mitigated by having a Nosferatu on there, which we'll take a look at on this fit here once we actually get to going over with what's actually in the video. So for the high slots, I have 7 C-type torpedoes. So Pith C-type large torpedo launchers is exactly what they're called. And in the mid slots, I have 2 Haley target painters, but as we talked about before, I think maybe we should take one of those out of there and put in a Nosferatu. And it's also running a Predator Stasis Warp. I'm so sorry, a Predator Stasis Webifier. For our drones, I am running my Mark 9 Ogres. I have 2 of those put in there. And in the low slots, I have a Core C-type large afterburner. The choice over the afterburner instead of the micro warp drive was solely based off of power and how much power the ship was actually using when I went through this. I thought the power was going to be a problem when I was looking at the capacitor, so I decided not even to try to micro warp drive. I did also run 2 GIST C-type adaptive and vulnerability fields, 1 Pitham C-type ballistic control system, 1 Hook missile guidance computer, and 1 Centis C-type large shield booster. For the rigs and the engineering slots, we have all level 3 semiconductor memory cells. This ship, like I said, had very big power grid, or not power grid, had very big capacitor issues, so I wanted to make sure we could increase that and get as much out of it as possible. For the combat rigs, we have a warhead flare catalyst, which is this one here is going to give the explosion velocity bonus of 15%. A warhead rigger catalyst, which is going to give our explosion radius minus 14%. What this is going to do is basically make our missiles apply damage to smaller and faster ships better. So since we're using torpedoes with this fit, I wanted to try those out and see if they were actually going to make a difference. And you'll have to see the combat to see if it did or not. And I also put in here a bay loading accelerator for the activation time minus of 12.5. So let's talk about the weapon tree first. As you can see, we have a pretty impressive number here for damage on a T9 battleship. It's sitting at 1,420 cold, and that's a total of 1,516.16 with both of the drones. And this fit too, both of the drones are always going to be in range to be able to apply their damage, as long as you do everything correctly. Now let's take a look at the downsides to this. Your missile range is literally 16.3 km, and that is with a range increase. So because the way things move, that takes away from your actual missile range time, You'll actually want to be closer to 11 to 15 km. 15 km being kind of your extreme range to make up for any of the smaller ships that might be moving if they are moving in a bigger orbit around. However, if they're coming towards you, you don't have to really worry about any of that. You can actually probably fire a little bit further out because they're going to come into your missile range. So, but if I do set like an orbit or anything like that, I really want to set it at around that 15, 14 km, depending on how the other ships are adjusting to my orbit as well. These things hit hard. They hit real hard, but they don't apply damage very well to smaller ships, so you have a fall off. Hence, all of the reasons for trying to take care of that. The ship itself has that kind of baked into it with the large missile torpedo explosion velocity. That's going to help out quite a bit, and I wanted to kind of capitalize on that and see if we could take complete advantage of it. All right, so the defense on this one, let's go over all of that. All right, so our defense here is a total of 104,901 with max stats. Of that, 31,688 is in the shields, 28,428 is in the armor, and 25,405 is in the structure. We did already go over the shield resistances, but we'll do it again since we're in this section. The EM resistance is 10%, thermal 20, kinetic 40, explosive 50. Once you do get into your armor, you have an EM resistance of 60, thermal 35, kinetic 25, explosive 10. And for your structure hit points, it's 33% resistances all around. The capacitor in the ship lasts for 5 minutes and 20 seconds. It has a minus 38.87 gigajoules and minus 83.1%. Basically, it's almost using its capacitor twice over. And it has a huge capacitor draw on this ship. But its capacitor capacity is 16,704, with a recharge time of 893 seconds. Targeting, it has a radar sensor strength of 25 points with a scan resolution of 202, signature radius of 253, and you can lock a maximum of 7 targets. Navigation, this ship is doing 211.70 out of the box with a warp preparation time of 10.82 and a maximum warp speed of 3, and no warp stability in this particular fit. Okay, and the power grid. The power grid on this ship with max skills is going to be sitting at 10,452. So you got quite a bit of room to play around with as well. And the battleships, I really haven't found much that's making me use up all that power grid. So, the one thing that I would definitely recommend is that capacitor sitting at that 5 minutes and 20 seconds. Both of the target painters are very nice to have, don't get me wrong, but you could probably do without one to make sure that you're going to stay more cap stable. If we did put a large NOS on there, yeah, it's just going to give you a bit more time. It's not even going to make you completely stable, so that might not be the cure you're looking for. It might actually be a cap battery or something like that. You'd have to play around with this ship if you're going to planning on using torpedoes and try to see if you can get the defense to offense ratio correct. So one of the things to remember is this is pretty much going to be your entire offense with the ship if you want to make it work correctly. For offense, obviously you could pump in 2 more damage rigs on there, a bunch more damage stuff on the bottom as well. But with having to be so close to the ships, the enemy ships, you're going to take damage in return. So figuring out your tank plus your cap, I was able to complete the entire mission doing that. But if you're going to take this into anything harder than a news mission, which I would assume if you're trying to get this as your battleship you would want to, then you're definitely going to have to play around with the tank versus capacitor a bit more. Some of the same issues that I've had with the Drake when it comes to the capacitor for longer sustained fights. So I don't know how effective the torpedo build will be for you. However, it is definitely very fun to play with, and I always like it when ships have different options. Alright, so we're going to jump into one of the other fittings now. I'll be right back. Okay, and here we are with the second fit. So the second fit we have here is still sitting with the close range fit. This one is not going to be as close as the torpedoes, but I still decided to go with the high damage to kind of just show off how much this ship can actually put out. So in this fit, we changed all of our high slots to the Pith C-type large rapid missile launchers. These guys in this fit are doing 1,360.51 DPS, which is still a pretty big number. It's very good. Now, the rigs that were changed up in this, everything's the same except for the bay loading accelerator here still remained the same. I did add a second bay loading accelerator and a warhead calefaction catalyst. So we decided to go with full DPS on this one. Now, that full DPS being said, we changed up the bottom a little bit. Now, I took out the not the ballistic control, but the missile guidance system, and we replaced that with a capacitor battery to try to help out with that. This one hopefully won't need that missile guidance system nearly as much. These missiles actually have a range of 36.89, so they should be able to reach out and hit things still. I did opt to keep the 2 target painters for the smaller targets on this one, and instead of going with the Nosferatu, because I figured we might actually be outside of the range for the Nosferatu for a lot of cases here. So the cap battery might help out with that. We're still keeping the tank in, and we're keeping everything else the same on this fit. And we'll check out and see how this one does as well, and see if it's any worse or any better compared to the torpedoes, and how that might influence how you want to use this ship. So other than that, there's been really no changes to it. So you're looking at a total of 1,456.60 with the DPS. And when you do see it in combat, you will see with the ballistic control system activated to see what type of top-end DPS it can put out. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end this here. We're going to go into the last fit. Okay, so coming into the last fit here is going to be the long-range fit. So what I did was the 7 high slots, I did change those out for the PID C-type large missile launchers. My mid slots here, I did keep the same for this showcase. I do have the 2 Haley target painters and the 1 Predator Stasis Webifier in case something does get under the missiles. However, if I was going out and taking this out in any type of T8, T10 type environment, I would probably have one of the target painters or the target painter and most likely the Stasis Webifier replaced with large shield reppers. And the low slots, I did replace the Afterburner with a GIST C-type large micro warp drive. And I have 2 Pitham C-type ballistic control systems, and I have 3 Hook missile guidance computers in here. And one thing that I'm not using is I didn't change any of the rigs out at all. So we're still using the 2 bay loading accelerator 3s and 1 warhead calefaction catalyst to try to get the most DPS as possible out of here. Those can be replaced for the fuel caches, or what's the other one called? I can't remember off the top of my head. Let's have a look here. I think I have some in here. Hydraulic bay thrusters? Yeah, hydraulic bay thrusters. And the rocket full cache. So you can replace those with those and actually get a whole lot more range out of this. So it gets pretty scary what the range can actually get up to, but you're going to lower that DPS. For the purposes of this, we're sitting at 1,500 cold, and we're at 117 km, which is going to be pretty good for most everything except for your crazy T10s, and that is your T10s when you're trying to actually take no damage. Like for most stuff, you'll be able to sit at 117 and be absolutely fine, just blaring missiles at it and watching them die. That being said, that's exactly what we're going to go do now. Let's go take a look at the showcase of this and see how it performs. Hello everybody, so we are here with the test for the torpedoes. We're going to take it into a combat mission and we are going to see just how well it does with the torpedoes. And now one of the things that we want to look at first before we do that is, there we go, and we can activate these and take a look at our fitting here and just see what type of defense it's looking at. So 61, 65, 74, and 78. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump into the encounter. We're going to warp in at 0. Now the torpedoes have a very slow, or not slow, they have a very short range of 16 km in this particular fit. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that and see if this is actually able to function with the torpedoes and do some torpedo stuff. Okay. Let's lock up everybody. Let's set orbit for him. And let's pick one of our small targets first. Light them up and focus fire. And let's see what the torpedoes actually do to these little guys. Not much, actually. I think the drones are actually doing way more than the torpedoes are, even with all of the buffs to it. Still not too terribly bad, but not the greatest thing in the world. Okay. So let's hit our second guy, and we are blowing up the signature radius of these guys pretty well, too. Okay. Oh, I think where we'll see the huge difference is when we start getting to the bigger ships. Hey, focus fire. Ooh, that's a pretty big chunk. The torpedoes do fire pretty quickly for missiles, anyway. Still not exactly what I would like to see out of my damage from my missiles, though. It just feels like it's missing something. 9,000. That's what it felt like it was missing. That is some pretty beefy damage. Now that we're within range of this, we can go ahead and set the orbit. Let's turn that shield booster back on. Alright, and lastly we have the battleship, so we're going to get to see how well this thing is going to work on this. These torpedoes are large torpedoes, so they are made for hitting these guys. Okay, well, I guess it helps if they don't sit right outside of our range, huh? Let's get back in range. Okay. 9,000. It's not bad. Another 9,000. Is this one our... Yeah, that's the guidance computer. So if we activate this, we should be able to see our full damage, which is 1,800. Um, 1,837 from the missiles, 1,933 including the drones. Okay. So are torpedoes viable? Well, I mean, they're probably more viable on this ship than they are on any other ship. If you really wanted to use them, I mean, I'm not seeing them as being bad. They are hitting pretty hard, pretty quickly, and able to do quite a bit of stuff. But we're just gonna have to see from when the spawns happen, basically what's gonna be able to transpire. This is pretty much an all damage ship. So very lacking in the tank department. Okay. Everything is pretty far away. We're gonna have to wait some time before they get into range. Okay. Should be able to fire on this guy now. Oh, we can even use the web. That should help out. Let's move on this target next. This is a smaller target. $1,200, not bad, honestly. I've seen worse. Now we're going to focus up on the last little target. We will start orbiting him at 11. And I think we're going to be in a good spot after this. Well, we don't have the target painters on the small ship, otherwise I think it would have died. Let's get the next biggest target. Or the next smallest target, I apologize. So if we get this guy all set up... Yeah, 7,000 point shot. That's pretty good. Okay. I don't know if this wave is going to actually hit. That guy wasn't exactly within the 15 km. Let's activate both of those. Yeah. Our damage should start laying into him now. This ship may need to forego the extra damage for a capacitor battery or something. Just having quite a little bit of a time with the energy. Maybe we could put a NOS on here instead of one of the target painters. I really wanted to use both of the target painters though, but as you could see, I was just shooting that frigate, and it actually didn't need to have the target painters on to be able to do it. It wasn't killing those frigates as fast as, well, something smaller, but for torpedoes, especially large torpedoes, that wasn't too bad for killing those frigates. It did quite well, I would say. Definitely not bad. So you could do a lot of things with this ship. You could lower the DPS a little bit, add a bit more tank. I don't know about the rigs. The rigs themselves, you might be able to actually remove the damage rig again, just the raw damage, and or at the activation time, I apologize, the damage increase, DPS increase, and put in there some type of thing to help out with the tank a little bit more. But I mean, other than that, the ship does look like, I mean, if you do throw the torpedoes on here and you tweak it a little bit, you would be able to do some pretty cool things with it. How much do I trust it to do T10s? I don't know if this thing is the tanky with the damage on the T10s, but it definitely does have the ability to use these torpedoes. Okay. Ooh, big explosions. Let's lock up all these little ships again. Let's start approaching. See if we can get a little bit of our shields back as well. Okay. Let's activate these, focus fire, and lock him down if we can. And start approaching this guy. Next, we're going to focus on the next closest one. See if we can lock him down too. Okay. I don't know if we're going to be in range for that guy. Maybe, though. Cool. $2,300, not bad. Okay. We are under some heavy fire here. The tank isn't necessarily holding too well. So if you did want this thing to be a bit more tanky, I would definitely recommend it. That seems like a good idea. And just having a little bit of issues maintaining its capacitor and keeping the tank going. Now, for the purpose of doing this news mission, everything was just fine. So it shouldn't have any trouble here. But if you're going to be doing anything harder, you might not want to go with the full sweep DPS. Okay. We are down to the last ship. This ship was able to actually use torpedoes and hit frigates, cruisers, and battleships and battle cruisers, all with the torpedoes. With the appropriate rigs, it was actually able to basically lay waste to everything out here. Now, it didn't have the best cap stability with doing that, but it was able to actually do that and complete this mission, which is pretty impressive. I'd have to say that the torpedoes did surprise me. They did a whole lot better than I thought they were going to be able to do. So maybe mix and matching your torpedoes with some other missiles as well. Playing around with how you have the tank fit on this. Again, like I said, maybe using a capacitor battery, or actually taking out a target painter and putting in a large energy Nosferatu might actually fix the problem completely. What I'm going to do is, I'm actually recording this video before I record the fitting of this ship. So whenever I do the fitting, you'll probably hear where I'll talk about that Nosferatu and how it would definitely be beneficial in this. But it looks like this is great. It's a pretty solid damage build. I was able to clear out the mission quite quickly. It does need some fine tweaking, I would say, but that was pretty good. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and head back to base, and we'll go ahead and take a look at the next combat. Alright, so we're back with the second combat. This combat is going to be with the Rapids, and we're about to jump in, and we're just going to go ahead and warp in. We'll give ourselves a little bit of range on this one. We're going to warp in at 14. We have our orbit set to 30, even though we're at 35, to try to keep the distance there. We're going to see about the cap battery and see if that affects anything anymore, and if that's going to be a little bit better. And the extra range that the Rapids give may also prove to be lucrative as well. But we're going to take a look at it and see if just the Rapids with full damage are going to do any better. Okay. Let's lock up. Let's orbit. And let's fire on those. Okay. So I can tell you right now, the Rapids, even without being webbed or anything, we're able to apply that damage a lot better. We're going to orbit on him. Just straight up approach him. Okay. Let's move over to this. And again, we have a 35 km range with this ship, so I think we're going to be in a lot better spot. And let's go ahead and take a look at what our damage looks like. 1,743. So not quite the DPS of the torpedoes, but we are still doing pretty good, I would say. Oh. Oh. So we did get a little bit of blows in there on that Raven. Okay. Stop our shield. Let's just focus fire on the other ship first. We've been softening up the Raven a little bit. I think where we're going to notice some of the bigger differences is going to be versus the battleships, that's for sure. The torpedoes would really melt battleships. And I don't think these ships are going to quite react in the same way. Okay, excellent. Get both target painters turned on. We brought them for a reason. As soon as we get this Ferox out of its shields and into its armor, we should start seeing some pretty big chunking going on. Okay. Not bad, not bad. Let's activate our cap battery and... Okay. Onward to the next target. Let's activate our damage and get some damage applied to this Raven and see what goes on. Cool. Okay. We might be able to get another shield. Nope, not quite. Okay. So we are definitely not seeing the big scary numbers that we were seeing on the last battleship. I would have to say that this is probably firing a little quicker than the torpedoes were, but definitely not putting out the damage. So yeah, not doing a whole heck of a lot to these battleships, to be honest. So there is something to be said for the torpedoes on that, even though the torpedoes indicate that they're not doing much less or much more damage than these. These really don't seem to be chunking down these battleships, that's for sure. Okay. We are through the Raven's thick shields. Now we're starting to work on its armor. Okay, so a Raven being a majority shield, not a whole lot of armor. We're starting to see a lot more damage going on to the armor here, which is speeding up the process quite a bit. So I think the difference is those were Galente ships and these are Caldari ships. So it's just where the time sink is. Yeah, it's melting it pretty quickly now. So all in all, it's probably going to take the torpedoes a little bit quicker to get rid of the battleships. But overall, this looks like it is a pretty effective way to do this as well. But we are definitely going to take a look at the next waves and see how this performs. Okay. Start locking up these little guys. Okay. Let's start with this guy. we'll activate our damage again in case you missed it the first time. We're sitting at 1,743 DPS, or 1,839. And we're able to hit them from further out. Start approaching. Okay, so we can actually web him too. He came in right up on us. And even at 30, we should still be okay. But let's target this Condor 2 first. Okay. Let's go into orbit. No, we don't need to target him though. Not with everything. Let's get the MOA. Okay. MOA interdictor is being shredded. Now we're going to move over to the Ferox. Okay. Yeah, with these Caldari ships, just getting through that shield is the tough part. Once those shields pop, then the ships go down pretty quickly. But those shields are the scary part. Okay. Our battery has been keeping us at a much more stable rate. It's actually very effective to have the battery on here. And I'm just trying to figure out exactly what we would replace with the torpedo boat. I'm starting to think that we might just have to go without the damage boost, or maybe one of the armor hardeners. You lack one of the armor hardeners, but are able to continuously repair. Might be okay. Okay. Let's activate our damage. We are just launching volley after volley here. Oh yeah, we're not, again, you don't see a lot of the big number damage with these missiles. Not like those torpedoes, but we do already know that as soon as this Raven shield goes down, then the rest of it's gonna go away pretty quickly. So we're just in the long haul currently, after that first one. Overall, I think might take just about as long to do the mission. Maybe with the torpedoes it's gonna be a little bit quicker. We'll find out though. You'll be able to see for yourself. Man, sometimes those shields feel like forever. Okay. Finally. That was like a full minute going through those shields. Now we're starting to see a lot bigger damage numbers. Let's activate our ballistic control. Should start delivering those missiles at a much rapider pace. I guess correctly would be much more rapid. Quicker. Alright, our final wave will be spawning here in a moment. Cool. Let's activate those while we can. Lock up all of our small ships first. Just start orbiting that guy so we can be moving in. Okay, let's take out him since we have the opportunity to. We're gonna let the other guy get close to us. We're just gonna see how much of a difference that would make. Alright, 2,900 for our first volley. 2,800. The volleys happen very quickly too. Cool. Let's lock him down and focus fire him. He has got us warp jammed, but we don't particularly care. Okay. Yeah. Now we're gonna move on to the condors. Excellent. And yeah, with these weapons, everything just drops pretty quickly. Start orbiting around the battleship, and we should get into range of everything else whilst doing that. Okay, Condor, you are dead. Excellent. So we're in a pretty good spot here. I did let the shield booster go for the entire time, and our actual battery is back up, but we're still sitting at 73%. So I'm thinking that the battery is definitely doing a lot of work, and we're sitting in a much better position than we were with the torpedoes. Battery definitely does help quite a bit. Matter of fact, we can go ahead and kick those on. Use some of that energy and make sure that our damage is amped up a little bit. And we do want to be in range, so let's start moving forward and even take advantage of the afterburner that we have on here. Okay. Go into orbit. Going to be orbiting at 30 km. You don't need the afterburner any longer. Excellent. We are down to the last ship. So I don't have a corporation. So again, it does look like that this ship here probably kills a little slower than the torpedoes, I would imagine. Just based off of that, the pure damage the torpedoes were doing in that fit. It just felt like we were going through everything pretty quickly with the torps. But this is pretty good and pretty safe as well. You don't have to worry really about having to hit everything with the target painters. You just have more DPS rigs in, and I would imagine that would mean that this ship here is probably applying damage better to the smaller ships, but not as good to the larger ships. So where the torpedoes are actually saving us time on the battleships, this is saving us time on the frigates. But it looks like, and I don't know if it's right or not, I'd have to actually go back and look at each one of the videos individually. But I'm thinking saving time on the battleships is actually for time. Now I know the Muse missions weren't identical missions, but it's not bad. Torpedoes ended up being a whole lot better than I thought they would be. Now that's not to say that these aren't great as well. I mean, look at this. This is so much more stable. Everything's working out brilliantly. Don't know if I would try this fit in T10s, but again, I would have to strengthen the tank quite a bit if I would want to do that. Personally, I'm not a hugest fan of shield tanking and T10s. I like my tanks to be way more cap stable. That's that. So I hope that was pretty cool. If you did like what you see there, then that might be your kind of thing. So that worked out okay. It's pretty much the same as playing with the torpedoes, just you got a lot more room to deal with, a lot more stability, less damage to the battleships, and I think overall it just does it a lot slower than the torpedoes did, but more safely. Alright, so we're going to jump into the last showcase now. I will see you then. Okay, and here we are with the long-range fit. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start moving in a direction, and we are going to activate the micro warp drive, and we're going to take a look and see what that does to the velocity here. So our navigation with that is 1282.01 for top speed, and that's pretty dang good. So it should definitely be able to keep its distance and whatnot. Let's go ahead and warp into the anomaly, and we are going to warp in at 100. We are going to set orbit at 100 and set approach at 100. Why not? Now, normally I don't like setting my approach to 100. I like to keep it shorter than my distance so I can always move towards something if I need to. Another ship that might be closer, especially when you start getting more ships around you. For maneuverability, I like to keep that at 0 normally. Okay, so we should be able to come in here, and I forgot to look to see what gate. Stargate, I imagine it's going to be Alentine. Leantine? I don't know. Let's approach. See if that's going to be it. Are we going to turn back around? Yeah, so we're fine here. Alright, so let's lock everybody up. They're sitting at a cool 88 km away. We already got the larger ships locked. That's cool. This guy here, he's our buddy. He's the one that we want to actually just start laying into. Alright, so it is going to take quite a bit of time for these missiles to actually get over there to our buddy. But when they hit, they should hit with some force, even though he's a frigate. 695. That's not the force we're looking for. So, yeah, it's going to take a wee bit of time, I would say, to actually take out these frigates. Let's go ahead and activate one of the Eagle. Oh no, these are the Hook missile guidance. Hook missile guidance, I mean, that was something. Okay. So it takes the better part of forever to actually kill the smaller ships with these missiles. Alright, so now we're just going to chill out here at this 91 km range. We're going to activate both of those, because why not? And why they're both active, let's just, for fun, and come and take a look. Our missile range is 210 km. And if we activate one of the damage, we're sitting at 1,940. And if we activate both of the damage, we are sitting at a cool 2,374. Now, that's obviously not going to be applying damage very well to the frigates, but once you start getting to the bigger ships, that damage should be very, very nice. So the ability to sit out here way, way, way far and just apply tons of damage is going to be pretty cool. I love versatile ships. And this missile boat definitely seems like it is going to be one of those that is very versatile. And it can actually make use of all of the different missile types. And that, my friends, is very impressive. There's a lot of ships that are built out there that's like, okay, well, you know, they can use all the different types, but they really do excel at one or the other. And it looks like this ship is just going to be able to make use of all of them. Torpedoes, I'm still gonna say they're gonna need some fine tuning, but it can do it. As somebody who spends more time with the ship than I have, will definitely be able to make those work on a ship. It may lower the damage by quite a bit though, in order to make that work. Same thing with the rapids. The rapids are just gonna work. They're gonna work fine. For pretty much whatever you want to do, it would just be juggling your tank and trying to see what where you kind of want to end up with that. You have the capabilities of doing some pretty high damage with these ships, or this ship in specific. But sacrificing any of the damage stuff does sacrifice a big chunk of damage. And are you going to give that up for your tank or not? But I do definitely, like I was saying just a moment ago, like ships where you can play however you want to play. Alright, let's activate another one of those. So one thing is, if you guys have made it to this point in the video, if you know, I actually don't know with the ballistic control units. Does it apply when the missile hits, or does it apply when the missile fires? I don't know. I guess I could test it, but I probably won't. Does it apply when the missile hits or when the missile fires? Because missiles actually have travel time. So if it applies when it fires, you technically want to activate it right before your first volley goes off. If it applies when it hits, you want to activate it right before it hits to get the most time out of it. So, with these missiles, you do see those big chunky hits, but they fire very slow. So the torpedoes, you're actually seeing pretty decent chunky hits. Not quite the same as these, but pretty decent chunky hits. And it fired so much quicker. With the rapids, it was a lot of little hits. Okay. So they have all appeared on the screen now. Now they're sitting pretty far out there now. So this is where it comes in. We need to have our little micro warp drive going and kicking, because we got to get within range. And that is fine. Oh, nope, nope. Approach this guy. We're going to be turning back around here. This is why I don't like that 100. Gonna pick me a new target. Okay. Alright, we can turn that off. Guy's not going to make it to us. And our last volley has fired. He is deado. Okay. Let's just set an approach on the Megathron. And we should be in there like swimwear. We'll just sit at our 100 km. Yeah, I think because of the smaller ships, this is going to be a lot slower, honestly, than the other two. Let's activate another one of those. There we go, we actually got a hit. Man. Hey! Like, sometimes it just forgets to apply missile damage. They just lay out there, doing what they want, being all missile-y. Oh, let's activate that. But yeah, it gets some pretty Pretty scary numbers. I mean, with one activated, you're sitting at 1,940. Do some nice chunky damage from pretty far away. Yeah, those missiles are going to fly out to nowhere. Love it when you get a fire just as the other volley hits. Happens quite a bit at these long ranges. And get much further and we may have like 3 volleys hitting before the first gets there. 3 volleys firing. Alright, we got 2 in the air. Oh, there's the first one. This thing is just pooping out missiles. They all come right out the bottom. Oh. Little missile blob. Activate that, and let's just click those for fun. Here, let's click this too. Okay, so it still looked like it was doing in the 9,000s. Yeah, still 9,000s. I can't tell. I activated one before and one after. It's gonna be very hard for me to know if that's a thing or not. When you want to activate those. So yeah, this is the extreme lazy man playstyle. It's one of the ones that I prefer. It's actually much less lazy whenever you're doing harder encounters, making sure that you keep your range and whatnot. But here we're golden. We're just sitting back here having a good old day. Okay. Let's actually get our turnaround and approach going on. Lock up our smaller ships. Cool. I mean, I thought he would be hit by now. Are we gonna need 3 volleys? Yeah. Alright, let's focus fire on the next one. Actually, well, sure, you can have one. You can have a volley. Let's get you, you're coming in on us. With our 630 DPS. Excellent. No! I just wanted to approach that guy. I didn't want you to fire everything on him. That's fine. Here, let's activate those. Why not? That was a nice chunk of damage, though, on that Megathron. 1,300, not too terribly. Okie dokie. Perfect. Sure, let's activate one of those. Why not? It'll apply damage better. There we go. Let's activate another one. And we'll activate our damage as well. Might as well. We have it. $6,000 hit, not bad. Okay, that thing should be dead already. Those missiles that are off in space, they're just, well, gotta get there. Okay. Apply damage a bit better, get some damage. Why not? 9,000. $7,000. I think we have another volley about to hit it too. 6,000. Not bad. Okay. So now we're down to the big boy ship. Still have no clue. Like, I wonder if activating the range on missiles even matters. Because if they take over 10 seconds to get there, so when you start off it has the extra range. When it ends it had the extra range, but does it lose that extra range as soon as it expires? These are other burning questions I don't know. Haven't done my missile studies enough. I imagine it just has an activation, like a point. If you fired it while this was active, it should get, that shot should get the benefit from the entire thing. But yeah, as you can see, this is why I didn't actually bring the group shield repairers. They're really, I didn't think they were going to ever be necessary. Even if one of the frigates had gotten to me and put us in a little bit of danger, and by a little bit I mean a very, very minute amount of, if I really messed up and had to walk away from the computer, we might be in danger. And even then I don't think so. But even if that was to be the case, I was like, we would eventually kill it. It wouldn't be an issue, and it's probably not going to get through the shields of a battleship before it dies. So the only thing I would be really worried about in these cases here are the long-range weapons, like if they came equipped with some of the railguns, and since there's not really any elites out here, normally that doesn't happen. I mean, it could, but normally no. Okay. And that's it. That's the long-range showcase. If you're still around, I want to thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you liked the Typhoon. It's a pretty cool ship. As far as looks, I would have to say I don't like the way it looks at all. It looks like a flying chunk of debris, or maybe an engine that would go inside of another ship. I turn it like this, it looks kind of like a walkie-talkie. So visually, I'm not a big fan of this ship. However, it is very, very effective. It can be used in quite an array of different ways, and that is pretty cool. And I always love it when ships can be used in quite a different array of ways. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time.